Hello and welcome to this UniTaster On Demand event today. My name is John Cheek. I'm the founder of UniTasterDays, and I've got the easiest job because my job is just to host the event and introduce our speaker today. The subject area for today's event is international relations, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Dr. Rachel Bennett. Rachel is a course leader for international relations at the University of Gloucestershire. She's going to talk about four main things: reasons to consider international relations courses, what to expect on the course, maybe some application tips, and maybe an overview of careers as well. But with that, always conscious you've tuned in to hear from our excellent speakers, not from myself. I'll pass things over to Dr. Rachel Bennett, joining us from the University of Gloucestershire. Over to you, Rachel.
So yes, thank you, John. I'm here today to talk about international relations, what it is, why you might like to study it at university, and where it could take you. So a good place to start with that is probably, what is international relations? It's not a subject many people will have studied before they come to university, and often actually the point at which you're looking at what course you might like to do at university is the first point that you might discover international relations. And I know that was certainly the case for me when I was researching what I'd do at university. So broadly, it's about trying to understand the international political system, look at policy and decision making, and analysing a whole host of enduring issues, particularly those that go beyond national borders. And so many of our big challenges are these global challenges, whether that be issues around climate change, poverty, organised crime, or migration and human rights. And actually, it's often an interest in these global issues, these ones that we can't solve as individual countries, that motivate students to study international relations and pursue a career working on these issues. So it's got politics at its heart, but it's a distinct discipline in its own right. It's interested in that international political arena. So you will be getting training in aspects of politics, but it's bigger than that because it's really looking at the international perspective. And so as an academic discipline, it's also influenced by lots of other subjects, and some of these are ones you might have studied before. So there are elements of human geography, of history, of sociology, but also things like law. So we might look at the international legal system and human rights, insights from development studies that show us different ways of improving livelihoods across the world, social policy for understanding what sorts of programs we can bring about to work on these issues. So it's a really diverse discipline, but what makes it distinct is that focus on the international and global politics. And what I've got on this slide here is examples of some of the modules that you take as part of the International Relations programme at the University of Gloucestershire, to give you a flavour of the sorts of things you could be studying. So it could be looking at foreign policy, understanding how countries form policies for interacting with other states and the rest of the world, to things like crimes against humanity, and that's looking at things like genocide and the International Criminal Court, through to geopolitics of environmental change, conflict and peace building, lots of different topics that could come up in an international relations degree. And where it is a diverse discipline, I'd really recommend going along to the websites of universities offering international relations degrees, going to open days and finding out about which modules they offer. At Gloucestershire, we have a particular focus on contemporary issues and taking an applied approach. So we're interested in the big issues affecting us now and how we can work to solve them. Other universities might have more of a specialism around international political history, or focus more on the theoretical and philosophical aspects of international relations. Another thing to be thinking about, if this has interested you and you're thinking you might be interested in studying international relations, is whether you'd like to do it as your whole degree or as part of a joint honours degree. And international relations is a subject that fits well with politics, with modern languages, with law, and with history. And lots of institutions will offer joint honours programmes as well as a single honours programme. In terms of what it's like when you're there and you're enrolled in an international relations degree, there are lectures like what you'd expect from coming to university, where your lecturers will be teaching you about new content, new concepts, new theories. But something that's a really integral part of a programme in international relations is lots of seminar style teaching, where you'll be in smaller classes and discussing, debating, contemplating some of the issues that come up in those lectures. And it's a real core skill in international relations, that ability to analyse issues and discuss issues. So if you're interested in global politics, current affairs, and trying to talk about them, trying to understand them, then seminars you'll probably really enjoy them. It could also be that you find yourself sometimes doing computer workshops where perhaps you're analysing data around a particular issue, or you might take part in a simulation of an international political crisis. And we use those quite a lot at Gloucestershire to give you an understanding of the practical elements of diplomacy and how do you build a consensus with people with different interests. So typically you're representing a country or a group of countries, and you're trying to work with representatives of other countries to resolve an issue. And that really gives you an insight into the real world of international relations. In terms of how you might get assessed on an international relations degree, sometimes it will be traditional exams and essays that you may have come across earlier in your education, but you may also be asked to produce group or individual presentations, to conduct pieces of research and write reports on them, or develop policy briefs, which is where you research a particular issue and come up with a recommendation on how governments or organisations should respond to it. Something else that can be quite key to an international relations degree is getting some international exposure. The sorts of content that we cover in international relations mean it really helps your understanding of what we're studying and your perspective on a whole load of issues if you can get some kind of international experience in your course. So that could be looking to take part in an international field trip, where you'll go to a particular location and try and understand the global political issues affecting that context. And the picture I have on the slide here is from a field trip to South Africa. It might be that there's an opportunity to study abroad and spend a semester or a whole year at a university internationally that your own university in the UK has a partnership with. Or it might be that there are guest speakers and events where international experts are brought into the course. But it's a real strength of an international relations programme if you can get some kind of international exposure during the degree. So that's something worth researching as well. And across all those different topic areas, different styles of learning, international relations students develop a whole host of skills. It could be anything from data analytics to consensus building to building skills in intercultural awareness. So as a graduate of international relations, not only do you have a real breadth of understanding of global political issues, but you also have a really broad skill set when you're looking for your first job after university. And in an ultra-connected and globalized world, international relations graduates are in demand across a whole range of sectors. So that might be areas of work linked to global development or advocacy. It could be working with international organizations like the UN. Could also be in the private sector, in banking or in transnational corporations. And because of the range of skills and material that you cover in an international relations degree, it's also common to move around between sectors. It's a subject that's valued not only in the public and third sector, but also in the private sector. So if I've tempted you and you're thinking maybe international relations would be a subject that would suit you to study at university, some tips in terms of putting together your application. I think it's definitely worth bearing in mind that probably nobody that applies to do an international relations degree has actually studied it before, because it's not something that you commonly study earlier in your education. So whilst you might need to get a particular number of UCAS points, you're probably not going to need to have done particular subject combinations in order to apply for international relations. What is important, though, is that you can demonstrate a passion for global political issues. And so that could be through talking about things that have come up in current affairs that interest you. It might be through volunteering that you've done, or particular aspects of programs that you've studied before. So maybe something you've studied as part of a geography or a history program previously. And what you're trying to show when you talk about that sort of thing in your personal statement is that you do have a real interest in these issues, that you're motivated to study them, and that you have an aptitude for a discipline where you will be asked to critically analyse and to debate and to reflect on these global issues. In terms of places to go to get a bit more information on this, definitely recommend the UCAS website as a first point of call for finding universities that offer international relations courses. And also the Prospects website now has a dedicated page on international relations, and it gives you a bit more information about the discipline and the sorts of careers you might be able to build with an international relations degree. And then finally from me, just finish with this slide, which has my email address. If anyone was interested in getting in touch, if you had any questions about international relations, I'd be very happy to answer those. And a few places to go for information on the International Relations programme here at the University of Gloucestershire.